Morning, everybody. Welcome to Profession of Architect this morning. And I am the moderator for this morning. And today we have two case studies that we are going to be presenting in two different sessions. First of all, I think a little bit about the project will be introduced a little bit later, but I think we can ask Dr. Izumi first to have an opening ceremony for some words to say.
Okay, good morning, everyone. My apology. Is David here? Okay.
Yes, sorry.
Okay, David.
I'm so sorry, everyone. This is the thing just froze on me just before I was about to speak.
Okay, go ahead.
Morning, everyone, and welcome to the third POP workshop. And thank you for spending this Saturday morning with us. POP is the acronym for the Promotion of the Profession Committee, chaired by Dato Architect Izumi Hazami Ismail. I'm Architect David Teo, the convener for today's event. Today's event is a follow-up from the last workshop held in March, where participants from various demographic groups of our profession participated in focus group discussions around curated topics. From this process, we were able to obtain feedback from participants about pressing issues affecting the profession. For this reason, we have organized this third workshop to expand on the topic of collaborations. We have chosen two case studies for today's workshop. The first case study is the story of the collaboration between Pakatan Reka Architects Sdn Bhd, SNO Architects Sdn Bhd, and Jeffrey American Architects and Associates Sdn Bhd to deliver Parcel F in Putrajaya. This project can be considered a major project with a construction value of over R1 billion. We will learn from the architects involved about the intricacies of the project and how the different teams worked together to bring about a successful outcome. The second case study focuses on the work of Farid Ghaffar Architect, who will expand on his recent experiences on GIGA, the Gig Architect. We will learn about how he has set up new modes of collaboration with emphasis on the supplementary and additional services described in Architects Rules 2010. His experiences are valuable insights into how practices can capitalize and optimize income streams through related and necessary services outside the ambit of basic services. Each case study presentation shall be followed by a moderated discussion led by Dr. Naja Muhammad Alwi, an architectural academic and chairperson of the PAM Graduates Committee. We hope that all participants today enjoy the program and encourage everyone to post your questions to the presenters using the Q&A button. Before I conclude, I'd like to thank the POP chairman, Dato Izumi, the various presenters today, Dr. Naja, our moderator, the members of the organizing committee, our project officer Mimi, and the technical team at Garis Pixel for their contribution towards the success of today's event. With that, I now yield the floor to Dr. Naja, who will lead us through the rest of today's proceedings. Thank you very much. Dr. Naja? Unmute.
Yeah, sorry. On mute, right? Yeah. Good morning, everybody. Okay, I'm very excited today. So as Architect David has explained before, we have two case studies this morning. So just a bit of housekeeping. I think we have a lot of expectations for the questions and audiences today, and we hope to address them. So please do write them in the chat box, either in the Zoom or Facebook. And after each session, I will open it to discussion. And we have, of course, on our first case study here, we have a story basically from a collaboration between Pakatan Reka Architects Sdn Bhd, Jeffrey American Architects Associates, and we also have the SNO Architects Sdn Bhd. All the directors are here, and I will introduce the speakers according to the presentation. But first of all, we would like to have Dato Izumi as the president of PAM to give some opening words. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Naja. Assalamualaikum and good morning again. Okay, first of all, I wish to to welcome all the fan members, the audience, participants today, and also I wish to thank the co-chairman of the promotion of profession committee, Architect Aimi, and also Architect Liliante, and of course past President Architect Saifuddin, who are very active in the POP committee. So welcome to PAM Promotion of Practice Committee. This is the virtual workshop 3.0. This is the third edition of Promotion of Practice Committee. And this is the second virtual edition. We had the first one, which is conducted physically at PAM Center, but unfortunately, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the second edition, we have to do it virtually. And again, this is the third edition. We have to bear with the situation now. So I wish that we can have physical presence, but due to this pandemic, we have to continue on this virtual platform. But I still hope that you enjoy this as much as we used to be in a physical meeting. So today, the theme for the workshop today is towards smarter collaboration. We are going to talk about how architects can work hand in hand, join forces, and share resources to undertake a bigger and more complex project than a single architect or a single firm can handle it alone. I would like to quote a classic example of a smart partnership collaboration in the late 70s when the Urban Development Authority, UDA, intended to develop Menara Daya Bumi. At that time, in 1978, BEP Architect and Architect MAA joined forces to establish what they call it BEPMA, BEP MAA, to undertake the Daya Bumi development. Based on shared resources concept, they have formed a special team for the project, complete with the design team, the project team, and also the administration support team who handle documentation. Bear in mind, at that time, they are still on the manual at the beginning of the project. They use a manual drawing, manual drafting. So you can imagine how to coordinate and handle the documentation at that time. So letters and minutes of meeting were prepared using typewriter at that time. Some of us may not have seen the typewriter machine. So computer only came later towards the end of the project. So the project was successfully completed in 1984 after it was commissioned in 1978. That was about 6 years from the beginning of the award of the project to the completion of the project. But that was the past. Today, we are fortunate to have Pakatan Reka Architect, SNO Architect, and Jeffrey American Architect to share with us their knowledge and experience to undertake a bigger project with contract value of more than 1.5 billion ringgit. Just now, I think David mentioned more than 1 billion. I up a little bit more, become more than 1.5 billion ringgit. But the actual may be more than that, okay? So they have been working closely together as collaborator, not as competitor. So this is what we want to learn from them, how architect can work as collaborator with another architect, not to see them as our competitor. So it will be interesting to know how the collaborators coordinate themselves in terms of limit of responsibilities, boundaries of the sub-parcels, because in the building plan submission, they have a shared podium, but a different block, and how they determine the parcel boundaries and responsibility for each PSP for the project. I hope they will also share how they have worked together in coordinating the relevant authorities' inspection during the process of getting the clearance for issuance of CCC as well. So as we all know that for the construction process, maybe the coordination is a lot easier, but for inspection by the local authority, especially when you have a shared system, shared facility, and shared podium. So how are they going to give the clearance letter for issuance of CCC and so on? So I think this is something that we can learn from the collaboration for complex complex F project. And on the second segment of the workshop today, so we are going to have Architect Farid Ghaffar, the chairman of PEM Southern Chapter, to share with us how he has brought the digital visualization and digital application into his practice, and how he has transformed PEM Southern Chapter to be digitally advanced, and putting the challenges to all the rest of the PEM chapters and also PEM KL in their digital transformation journey. So we need to catch up with PEM Southern Chapter. PEM Southern Chapter just raised the bar in terms of digital transformation. So we need to catch up with them. So today we will have the opportunity to see his latest project, what he calls Gig Architect. So this is the latest update on gig technology, and we can see how we as architects can leverage on these digital opportunities in widening our services and the client base. So I hope that Farid can share with us, and that I also hope that will also inspire us to adopt digital technology, not just in terms of drawing preparation and drafting, but probably in managing the process in delivering the project as well. So on behalf of PEM, I would also like to thank Architect David Teo, okay, for being the MC for this session, and also Dr. Najah, who is going to moderate the discussion session later, and also all the POP committee members, and the speaker today, PEM past president, Architect David Tay, then Azri Aziz, Noor Aslifa from Pakatan Reka Architect, and of course Architect Jeffrey Marikan from GMA, Architect Jonathan Yap from SNO Architects dan Berhad. So thank you very much for your contribution and the time that you're going to spend with us today. And of course, Garis Pizza, thank you for your support. They are the technical support for our event today. To all participants, please stay to the end and enjoy this discussion with our speaker today, and make sure you ask a lot of questions. This is a very rare opportunity to have all architects speak together as collaborators. Usually they are competitors. So thank you very much. Back to you, David Teo.
So pass it back to Dr. Najah to introduce.
Okay, thank you.
That's fine. Okay, without further ado, I'll just introduce the speakers. As each of them, we have 5 architects today. So 3 will be from Pakatan Reka Architect, and then Jeffrey American, and also SNO Architects. But so I'll introduce the speakers first. So of course, we have Architect David Tay, which is the founder and director of Pakatan Reka Architect, and he is he was previously the president of Malaysian Institute of Architects, and also a very active member board, vice president of Commonwealth Association. So he is the controller of the quality professional services as a quality director. So we'll hear a lot from his view of how the project goes. And moving on to Architect Jeffrey American, which is also the principal director we have today with the Jeffrey American Architect Associates. And he has been known for notable works with TR Hamzah and Young and Pakatan Architect and Eketu Runding, of course. And he's personally involved with the schematic design, detail design, on-site management, giving the consistency and personal attention to the drawing and documents produced by the firms. And we have also Architect Jonathan Yap, with the director of the SNO Architects, and he is also currently in charge of the contract administration, people management. And he has worked with other architect stakeholders for BIM integration projects, IBS, and several projects other than Pasir Ris in Putrajaya. So we'll be hearing each of them speak specifically of their roles in this project. Together with David Tay, he has brought over also Architect Azri Aziz, who is the design architect from Pakatan Reka. And and then he has managed design the processes of large complex projects and also universal design requirements and the latest regard for the processes involved in the project. And we have also architect Azrifah Sultan, the associate from Pakatan Reka Architect, and she'll be speaking specifically about the management and liaison with authorities today. And without further ado, and I hope before we start, we'll have a bit of a video showing an overview of the project, and we'll straight away start with David Teh. I hope you have your snacks and drinks ready for a little bit before we go into the details. And have a good Saturday morning just listening to the sharing today. So with that, yeah, the video can begin.
Good morning. This is a webinar, and so I'm afraid I can't see you all. You just saw the video of the story of Parcel F, now officially Complex F government officers. From the agreement signing ceremony and groundbreaking ceremony to the handover ceremony. This is a very long project of over 12 years. We received our RFP in August 2007, and both the CCC and the CPC were only issued in April 2019. Work has not ended because final account is still in progress, and the DD is not the usual 2 years, it is 5 years. So it would be 2024 before we can close the file. This presentation of Parcel F and the collaboration of 3 architectural firms comprises of 6 parts. The presentation will be done by all 3 firms. However, PRA will be represented by 3 persons, namely my 2 colleagues and myself. I wish to acknowledge my partner, architect Effendi Ismail, who is the project director and ran the project. We did the master plan and the concept design in the RFP together. Both Astri and Azilifa are the associates and work from the start to the completion. Something on the RFP, I think up to 10 architects were invited to a closed competition by Putrajaya Holdings, who is the principal developer of Putrajaya. PRA's proposal was selected by Putrajaya Holdings, and PRA was appointed the lead architect to prepare the master plan and the concept design. The other 2 architects selected were S&O Architects and Jeffrey Marikan Architects. This is the synopsis of our presentation, comprising of 6 parts. And we have here I think up to 10 architects were invited to a closed competition by Putrajaya. We were selected. And next slide is some of the key data on the project. Parcel F is probably the last complex of government offices at the main Oval Road and comprises of 11 buildings and 10 office blocks and 1 multi-purpose hall. However, only 10 buildings were built, as 1 office block was not built, was KIV. A quick overview of PRA's winning scheme, which has remained basically the same in essence. We have the concept of a sunken garden with basement car parking so that the pedestrian realm is totally separated from the vehicular traffic, which is 1 floor below. The pedestrian realm is also the garden and ground level and easily accessible from the surrounding roads. And this was our main focus, to make the building pedestrian friendly. However, during design development, because of increased car parking requirements and the need for balanced cut and fill earthworks and the car parking was elevated to a 3-story podium car park. And so the pedestrian garden realm was raised to the top of the podium roof level, and vehicular traffic was directed directly into the podium. Another main change from the original master plan and concept design is that the main tower facing the Oval Road is no longer star-shaped, but asymmetrical. This was to meet the efficiency requirement imposed by the developer. I want to now look into the processes for the project. Unique to the project was the number of times the line reported and hence bosses changed. We had a change of 4 bosses. During the master plan, as you can see from organization chart, we worked directly under Putrajaya Holdings Design Management Department. And this continued for the schematic design. The organization chart shows how the blocks were divided. However, when we moved to design development and documentation, we had a separate department from Putrajaya Holdings. That is the project management team. And this is the organization chart. And you can tell from the organization chart how complex and how many people were involved. As Datu Zumi said, the collaboration has to be at so many levels, not just between the architects themselves, but between the architects and the consultants, and then the architect with the client bodies. And because of the client's management level, although the chart shows that we report to a project management team, often major decisions have to be referred to higher management, including the CEO. Next. At the contract implementation and construction, the entire architects team were novated to be under the design and build contractor, Sunway Construction. However, the other consultants remain with the developer as checker consultants. And you see from the organization chart that there are two big teams now, the contractors, consultants, and the developers, checker consultants. Now the developer has employed another architect, a checker architect, to oversee and coordinate all the consultants on the developer side. This is the organization chart. And I mean, this is just a chart, but it is actually quite elaborate. And the reporting sometimes in terms of meeting could be that the architect has to meet them by themselves first, then they have to meet with their respective consultant team, then all the three consultants with the architects have to meet again, then they report again to Sunway Construction as the contractor, as the design and build contractor, and this reports back to the developer, Putrajaya Bina. And there could be sometimes another layer where we had to interface with the checker architect. So, I mean, the number of parties involved, of consultants, contractors, and the many management levels, meetings are so long and so numerous. And I think the speakers that follow me will elaborate on this. I would like to say that although there are many layers, ultimate employer is still Putrajaya Holdings as the developer, and major decisions were all referred back to Putrajaya Holdings. That was my alarm, so there's time for me to stop. So it gives me pleasure to now pass you to my colleagues, Asri and Azilifa. Oh yes, before I do that, just go back. There's some shots, photographs of ourselves with the developer and the contractor. Thank you.
Thank you, Architect David Teh. Good morning, everybody. I'm Azri Aziz. I was one of the two associates involved in Parcel F. So what I can share is that, I mean, you have so many people working on it. First it was just PRA, and then SNO and JMA came into the picture. So at the end of the day, the winning scheme had to be built. So the real challenge was to actually get everybody involved and to turn this winning scheme competition developed into this and eventually built into what you see now. So one of the ways that we actually did it was to actually have this design control document. This just sort of serves as a basis for everybody, all the architects. Everybody was actually given a certain number of sub-parcel, we call it. So within the whole development of Parcel F, there were 11 sub-parcels, which contain one block, one building, and actually a sub-parcel line around it. So basically the scope of work for each architect was contained within that sub-parcel line. So this design control document done by PRA actually outlined where all those things were and how certain designs or certain blocks have their own story to tell, which would eventually make up the entire master plan. So as an example, for the backdrop buildings, which are F9, 10, and 11, done by GMAA and SNO. So it was supposed to be sort of this screen backdrop to the entire Parcel F. So from the original scheme, there were the triangular screens together with the colonnade. But of course, this, as a collaboration, this just serves as a guide. It wasn't cast in stone. So what it did was outline certain hierarchy, certain the typical floor levels, the overall proportions of the building, certain features like the sloping facade, the double roof system, and the connected pedestrian arcade. So basically, SNO and JMA took this design control document and sort of made it their own. Everybody added on to their respective buildings, develop it further to really make it as a whole. Like the double roof, now that you can see at site, is actually not solid. It's actually more like a lattice screen over it. And the triangular screen patterns now actually slope following the facade. The colonnade in front has actually been modernized and simplified a bit more. But the design control document also stipulates where services are meant to go, the colors, like for the colonnade, what actually ties in Parcel F as an entire scheme is that if you are on what we call level 1 now, the podium level, wherever that you go, you actually see the same finishes and texture, which is sort of this dark colored stone, which my other colleagues will actually show later on, which had to actually be coordinated as well. But all these little features that sort of scattered among all the 10 built blocks has all these unifying and tying elements that actually had to be coordinated, agreed, and eventually completed together. So like with most jobs or projects, everybody works well into the night. So being such a big team, we all had to find common ground. So one of it was to actually use the client's office, in this particular case, the client side office called Villa Gemilang behind the 4 towers in Parcel F. So as you can see from the window outside, it's well into the night, but everybody is still working. This is Ari from SNO. I think we also have representatives from JMA, even from the client side. So this is what you see in the foreground. In the background is actually the interior design team together with the client and consultants. So things like this actually happen easily 3 out of 5 days in a week. So really all 3 firms sort of work together as one. And along the 12 years of working together, I can say that, we almost end up like working as one big firm. Everybody has their own strengths and weaknesses, and we sort of leverage based on each other off of that. One of the things that we had to do also, because it was such a large scale project, was actually do this study model, which could actually be lifted off, explaining all the different layers. The traffic, imagine trying to control 3,000 cars coming in and out from the site. So this was one of the things that we had to do. This is Ari again from SNO, marking where the sub-parcel lines are, where the traffic is coming in and out, where the bomber routes are. So all this actually had to be done. It was part of the design process. So to explain further on this, I will pass it to my colleague, Azlifa, for the authority liaison and submissions. Thank you.
Hi, there was a intense process taken place for collaborating 3 architect firms into one team design of Parcel F. Now, you might be wondering what collaboration has to do with the authority liaison and submission. Is it really important? And I hope at the end of this section, this sharing may enlighten us on this aspect. Okay, now you can see the first slide that shows the flow chart of few major submissions needed for Parcel F. Some of us might think that the concept approval and DO approval as one. The truth is they are 2 separate approvals. As highlighted earlier by my principal, concept submission was purely by us, PRA, together with the landscape architect and the traffic engineer. This was to ensure that our scheme complied with the UDG of Putrajaya. After the concept approval, then only the 3 architects start collaborating for DO submission and onwards. There were lots and lots of meetings, discussing, strategizing, and standardizing before each submission, as the authority see Parcel F as one big project. Instead of 10 building, they saw it as just one. Okay, if our country had frontliners for combating COVID, we also had the same. We also had frontliners for our Parcel F. After series of meeting, discussion, and so on, we assigned the frontliner to do the task. Okay, among the three firms, it is fair for me to mention, when requiring for design approval from the developer, our frontliner at that time was Encik Azri from PRA. And then when it comes to rules and regulation, then we all stood out behind AR John from SNO. For myself, I was the frontliner to face employer, the design and build contractor, while Encik Hasnan from JMAA was the frontliner for liaising and fixing appointment with the RT, because they have heaps and heaps of experiences for Putrajaya project. Okay, for me, collaborating among architects is the way forward, because it can ease the process, especially to the big projects, and provided, okay, cooperation among architects in Parcel F was a positive way to expedite the whole process, provided that we know the strength of each player. Apart from the authority submission, we also have a visit and inspection from other parties. For example, on the left was the visit from PJH to learn about BIM, and on the right, there are a few others visit from various parties. Okay, next. Okay, then this slide and the rest of the slide we show on the inspections for CCC. Started with bomba inspection. Okay, bear in mind, even though we have 10 blocks, but in every inspection by the authority, all the three architects need to attend. This is because, for example, when bomba came to visit block F1, they mentioned, oh, these are the comments and so on, and they said this, okay, SNO, JMA, take note, the same comment will apply to your building. Okay, a few days after that, when they went to, let's say, F5 building, they found new thing, and they said, okay, JMA, PRA, take note, this also applied to your building, whereas the new comment was not mentioned to PRA buildings. These are the OQU access audit, where we need to check whether we complied with MS 1184 2014, and we got what they said 90% for this audit for all of Parcel F blocks. These are the inspection that we thought a never-ending story of a site lighting. Fortunately, it just finished or completed before we issued the CCC. These are the photos of the building department inspection by PJC. You can see three architects are still in one place to listen to the comments. And finally, on 17th of April 2019, we managed to sit for OSC's meeting and managed to issue 15 numbers of CCC for Parcel F on 18 of April 2019. If you want to know why 15, it's because we have 4 CCC for the podium, whereas 2 are under Pakatan Reka Architect, 1 under SNO, and 1 under JMA, and then 10 CCC for each block F1 until F11, except F4, which was unbuilt, and also 1 CCC for pedestrian bridge under SNO. Okay, I hope that's about it, that you can see how collaboration is important for liaising and submission to the authority. Here now is AR Jeffrey Marikan, the principal of JMAA, to talk about collaboration during contract documentation stage. AR Jeffrey.
Thank you, Puan Azlifa. The tender process for Parcel F was managed and coordinated by the project management team. We know them as PMT of Putrajaya Holdings, headed, I'd like to mention here in particular, it was headed by Puan Zaidatul Ahmad Zubel. So we dealt a lot with her, and she was the overall coordinator. And she was the personality who actually contributed a lot towards the human management of this humongous project. Beforehand, the top management of PJH at that time under Dato' Azlan Karim has determined that the tendering shall be based on 4 packages. So packages 1 and 2, what you see on the screen here is package 1. And there's also package 2 comprising blocks F1 to F4. Okay, so you see from the previous slide, the Azri, if you could back up about 2 slides. Another slide, the aerial view, please. The next slide. Okay, you see that's an empty lot there. That's not there by design. It was supposed to be another block identical to the building next to it, which is F3. This is F4, which by a discussion with the government where it involved the Unit Kerja Awam Swasta, UKAS, I'm sure many of you have heard. They are the agency that looks at the feasibility of projects for the government. So upon sessions with them, the government decided to omit for the moment the block F4. So that may come about soon. But as for the CCC as mentioned by Puan Azlifah, that wouldn't be part of the scheme as realized. So that's why you see the block F5 is standing alone there, although it works as a landmark building as is intended, but there was supposed to be another building there. Okay, then there's package 3. Let's move forward. There's package 3. There's quite a big package by SNO comprising blocks F5, F6, F7, and F11. So F5 is their landmark building, whereas F11, as you can see from the back, at the back row there, which I'm showing, it is the same design but divided with between 2 architects. That means it's a collaboration of design between our firm and SNO. We'll go to the next slide, please. Okay, that's our package. And 2 of those buildings are under our package. Okay, next. So, okay, there you can see they are the same. So we had a lot of coordination work towards getting the designs streamlined. I think John will be talking about that soon. So I'll just concentrate more on the work objectives of the tendering exercise. So what is the work objective of tendering? First is to develop the designs contained in the tender drawings and documents to a level of detailing that local authorities' requirements, as outlined, as explained by Puan Azlifah just now, are adequately captured to enable building plan approval to be secured by the design, under the design and build contractor without any major adjustments to the design, because that it will be a great failure if we tender and then we end up having the design totally revised because the authority do not agree with the tendered design. So that we have to put that out of the way first. Second objective is to capture as much as possible the end user requirements during tender process. So this process involves constant liaisons with numerous government departments. There are many departments here. So each building in Parcel F sometimes houses different departments at different floors. So you can imagine this is quite a monumental undertaking. So we have to actually meet them almost constantly every week while the drawings are being prepared. And to facilitate this, of course, the interior designers and of course the PMT help smoothen the process. Third objective is to confirm the materials and interior design to a level of detailing to enable the design and build contractor to quickly source the materials that would fit in the design intent. A lot of these materials are sourced overseas and also locally, so that will be for the next speaker to elaborate. 4, now you look at the design. One of the objectives of tendering is to ensure that the facades are refined in collaboration with the facade engineers and to determine in advance the facade cost with the quantity surveys to avoid unnecessary design and build over cost. Okay, so this includes the type of glass that's selected, and solar devices that would meet the standards of the OTTV. If you're not familiar what OTTV is, it's the overall thermal transmission value, which is important for us to comply with authority requirements, standards, and also the Green Building Index. Parcel F is certified for gold, GBI. Okay, fifth, to ensure that all engineering requirements and costs are accurately captured by the QS consultant team and the PGH cost management team during tender. There are a lot of, if we don't do that, there'll be a lot of cost overrun due to uncertainty. We made certain. So the tender drawings that you see here, we were involved in, is more like a conventional tender rather than a design and build. So every detail we have taken care of to make sure that by the time we handed it over to the successful tenderer, everything is just about there. The room data. We have things like room data, documents, and tons of documents. It takes a few vans to send it over to the contractor. And the sixth item is to design the building details throughout the different packages so that they are consistent throughout the entire Parcel F. So aesthetically and functionally, the designs of the buildings work as one. Okay, and seven, to ensure that all package tender documents and drawings are of comparable standards throughout in terms of quality, information content, and importantly, the format. Okay, how do we achieve this? There are three important work strategies. So each package team is headed by a competent and experienced project manager from PJH, who manages and coordinates with the person in charge representing each architecture and engineering firm. So meetings within package consultants were held once weekly, and there are other meetings which are held as and when necessary. Inter-packages meetings are constantly scheduled, there's a second point, for coordination and cooperation among architects and other consultants. These involve many people. Third, direct architect-to-architect meetings are held in the office of Pakatan Reka Architect PRA office to make sure that the details and design aesthetics jive throughout the scheme. So we had meetings in PRA office. And the fourth thing that's quite important for tendering is that every firm must assign adequate manpower to ensure that drawings are consistently being produced while the key personnel are out attending meetings. So everything has to run concurrently to meet the deadlines. The contract was eventually awarded to Sunway Construction, and for collaboration under the design and build contractor, I hand over the presentation to Mr. Jonathan Yap of SNO Architects. Over to you, John.
Hi, thanks, Jeffrey. Good morning, everyone. I'm Jonathan Yap. I'm from SNO Architects in Berhad. I'm going to talk about the collaboration between the architects during construction, i.e. the contract implementation. Next slide. All right, I don't have much time here. Anyway, construction. This one started in 2015 till 2019, about 4 years, under design and build contract. All three architects were actually innovated under Sunway Construction in Berhad. I'm going to refer to them as Suncon from now on. The collaboration between the architects enters a new phase under innovation. The scope of works actually include the building plan approval, construction drawings, beam clash analysis, factory visits, tests, standardization of materials, suppliers, mock-ups, specification compliance, supervision, authority approvals, CCC. Actually, this is just some of them. There's a lot more. But of course, the dynamics between us have changed. I think basically after innovation, our client now is Suncon. And basically our ex-client, Putrajaya Holdings, is now the developer, right, as Putrajaya Bina. All right, and under Suncon, there's a huge group of consultants, as conveyed by David earlier. We have the internal consultants, we have our own suppliers, we've got the subcons, and we have all the specialists under the umbrella of Suncon. And then under the umbrella of Putrajaya Bina, they have their consultants, their internal departments, as well as all the representatives from the checker consultants. All right, I think David has actually elaborated on this. As you can see, there's a lot of collaboration to do because there's so many parties. I'll try to go through the entire process with photos, as well as streamline the main events that require collaboration between the architects. I'll try to brief a bit on each particular aspect. I'll start off with the groundbreaking ceremony. All right, this occurred in 2015. This is the photo showing the 3 architects basically attending the ceremony. It was very good for us. It took us almost like 8 years to get to here. And finally, we're all looking very happy because our buildings are finally getting built. All right, so yeah, another 4 years of that going. Anyway, next slide. And yes, I think my previous colleagues have actually mentioned a lot about meetings. Yes, meetings. There's so many meetings, basically to collaborate internally, and then also with the external parties. Don't forget, we also have the end users, you know, the other authority people, like JKR and all that. Basically, there are a lot of meetings, and most of the time, we were collaborating on issues, trying to standardize most of the matters, you know, and next. And yeah, and sometimes it's so quick, and most of the documents that we actually produce are handwritten, like the one on the right, and signed by everybody. As you can see, all the 3 architects are there, all right? So all signed. So that's the complexity of this project. Lots of meetings to actually get it done and solved. Right, next. And I will zoom in on some of the events that are what I think is where all the major collaboration actually happened between the architects. Some of these are quite elaborate. For example, the facade mock-up. I think Azri has explained about this on the guidelines for the facade, how we intend the buildings to look like, to unite the buildings, all 10 blocks, and basically the finishes and all that. So these are the sample boards that you see in the photos. We had to present them to the client, the developer there, that's Kwan Zai, mentioned by Jeffrey. Yeah, and the entire table, I think there was like 3 or 4 tables there. So basically we had to show it to the clients to be approved. And this was translated to the next slide. Next slide. Yeah, this is the facade. We call it the facade visual mock-up. All right. All of this were actually built up on another site next to the main site. So we had to make sure that everything complies. As you can see, we shared a building with Jeffrey Marikan, F9, 10, and 11. And some of the issues we looked at was actually the conformity of the spray granite color, how our facade should look like, the elements and the louvers and all that. Of course, this has to unite together with the rest of the other blocks as well, PRA and ourselves and Jeffrey. Okay, next slide. And yeah, this visual mock-up was also presented to PJC, Putrajaya Corporation, the authority in Putrajaya. As you can see, I think Encik Amran was there. He's the planning department chair. And basically, we had to present and explain our facade concepts and all that, right? Next. Okay, another aspect that we looked at was the building signages. As explained by, I think, David, there was this podium, or even Jeffrey, an entire podium that actually ties all the blocks together for all 3 architects. And this podium is shared, all right? And basically, there are all the signages inside, traffic signages, where it's supposed to go, what color it's supposed to be, which block you're going to be at what level. So there's a lot of collaboration here. And we had to go through the entire podium, which is almost like half a kilometer, I think. Anyway, next. And we also looked at items like the building signages. We have to standardize the building signages, how it's supposed to look like in each block. Next. And more building signages, be more like identifications of spaces and all that. Cafeteria, surrounds, toilets. Next. All right, another aspect of main collaboration between the architects. We looked at factory visits. There were a lot of materials and tasks and basically compliances of materials to look at. Well, some of the major ones were basically on the facade. We and Jeffrey, we have this 9, 10, and 11 facade to look at, and they were all lumped under one subcontractor based in Beijing, China. So we had to go and visit the factory to see their compliances based on the specs. And this was freezing cold in Beijing, I remember. So anyway, the photo shows and tells 1,000 words. Next. So another aspect of collaboration we looked at for materials or stones. All three architects were going through I think a single supplier, but we had to go to places like China to look at the stones, select the stones, to make sure they all comply to what we want according to specs. So all three architects visited the factories in Xiamen. Next. Yeah, more pictures of the stone selection. As you can see, it's all laid down on the floor of the factory. We had to go through it and sign off, and this will be delivered to site in Malaysia. Okay, next. We also did some stone visit locally as well in Ipoh. All right, next. And yeah, the entire thing is brought up to site, whereby there was this stone dry lay sessions at site. A few of them eventually. We had to visit each other's building to see how things were done, and also to learn from each other. That's a very this was a very tedious process actually. Next. Okay, there were some other items that we collaborated on as well. As you can see, the roof form, these are the covered walkways. They sort of link the entire podium, the drop-off area, which is the level 1. This is the main podium level that connects all the 10 blocks. We had to standardize on the design to make sure the materials are correct, the details are correct. So we had to visually look at this a few times to inspect and also sign off. Then we also looked at the follies. These are called the landscape follies. It repeats across the entire podium level as well. It's part of the landscape scope. And then for ourselves with Jeffrey, we had to look at things like slanting blinds. This was actually something we had to detail up and looked at to make sure that it works properly. And then we had the vent blocks as well for our ventilation at the back. Next. And yeah, some other items, sanitary wares, we had to standardize the specs, the outlook of it, and also the suppliers and the various complexities that come with sanitary wares and fittings. And also we looked at ID as well. We had to look at loose furniture at the factory, as well as carpets, and you can see the various inspections that happened. This was a very tedious process as well. Okay, next. All right, before I end here, just want to highlight that I have not covered on the authority inspections. Actually, the authority inspections occur here tremendously. There's a lot of events on that, and I think Puan Azlifah has covered this very well. Thanks, Azlifah. And I will just end here with the handover ceremony. This occurred in 2019. Basically, CCC was actually issued, the CPC was issued, and all the architects look very happy and contented. You know, everything is a job well done. All right. So with this, I'll end my presentation. I'll pass the floor back to Dr. Najah. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Architect Jonathan, and thank you, Architect Azri, Architect Jeffrey and Azrifah, and of course, Architect David, for very comprehensive and actually very, very well-planned, executed presentation. So we have some questions coming in, and I'm just going to start a little bit of the moderation of just to get more discussion going. And at first, I think, yes, you've all shown different parts of the projects and how everyone's smiling in almost every picture. There's not much of attention, or at least we can't see that on camera. I don't know, but we'll dive into that a little bit more. As a generic questions, of course, this is open for everyone to answer. I know we all know design and build, collaborations means you have to have the mutually sustained teamworks. Okay, all the landscape designers, engineers, the specialists, suppliers, contractors. Now, I mean, I know the project, it's a while, it's been 12 years, as you say. So looking back in between a little bit, with directors and collaborators, with the scale and complexity, if you look back now for each one of you, how would you answer and think about doing things differently in any part of that 12 years? It's a very long period of time. So I'll start with maybe Architect David Teh. to just give you a point of view on that. And then architect Jeffrey American and Jonathan from each of the firms, as well as, of course, architect Azri and architect Azlifah as well, being in different parts of the process. The floor is yours.
Dr. Naja, as you said, it is a very long project, 12 years, and still ongoing. I like to say that we like to think that we architects can make things different, but I'm not so optimistic about this because often things are decided by others. For example, the layers in which we had to go through with the client team. I mean, they are very good managers, but their processes require a design management team. And then they move on to a project management team with different personalities, different outlooks. And often you have a situation where a lot of things that we decided earlier were reviewed again, and new thoughts come into place. Again, for project management team, we have a very competent person who drove it, as Jeffrey said, Bronzite, who drove it. She's a very strong person, a very strong leader, and she has her own views. Then we move on to construction, and there we are novated to a contractor. We didn't ask to be novated, but we were novated. And we have another team that has come in, the checker consultants, under a very strong checker architect. So I like to think that a lot of these processes are way beyond what the architect can foresee and can decide upon. But having said that, we can still give our advice. We can still try to make things easier. But I think the most difficult thing is probably the number of layers, the number of parties, the number of meetings that we have to go through. Shortening the number of meetings would help. And I think all those, during those times for the last 12 years until recently, all our meetings were done physically. And I will often joke with both Azlifah and Azri that we don't see them in the office because they're all the time in the client's office or with the contractor. And I would say to Azlifah, I say, are you working here or you're working in Putrajaya?
Azlifah, you can unmute your speakers. I think you can unmute your
Talking about that, yes, there was one Saturday workshop when I wanted to sign in the logbook. Suddenly, my principal asked, "Are you a guest or are you a guest speaker for today's session?" Because that is what he always said to us, to Azri and I.
Architect Azri, Architect Jeffrey, and Jonathan, do you want to jump in as well?
Okay, if I may about the collaboration, what I can learn, what I can share with all of you is when you talk and when you think about collaboration, you need to think about human management. Yeah, because I'm sure every party who entered into a contract, especially in a large complex project, the firm will put in their strong people to do it. Yeah, and it is even worse or difficult to collaborate among these superior people. So sometimes, for example, let's say John has his opinion, Jeffrey has his opinion, and PRA, we has our own opinion. And it's very hard for three of us or three architect firms to come together into one conclusive things. Yeah, so that is where you need special criteria to learn about human management, how to put these three strong people together into one decision. I know you can't learn it in the school, you have to learn it somewhere. Yeah, for example, as I mentioned just now about the frontliners of our project, that is how we did that. It's not that I can't go to the developer and presenting the design, or John can't. It's just that we thought at that time Azri was the best person to deal that. And when it comes to UBBL and so on, I'm sure all architects are well versed on it. But among all of us, John is the best. Yeah, to puji Puan Zai and so on.
Thank you, thank you.
Yeah, so that is how I would like to say you need to learn about human management, need to know the strength of each player and use it to the benefit of the project.
Yes, I totally agree with you, Azlifa. Actually, I think all of us had our strengths during collaboration. Very important. I'm a bit of a stubborn, I'm like, I want this, and I'll go right to Puan Zai and I'll stick my case out, But at the end of the day, basically, I think all of us sort of set our differences aside. We collaborated well. I think we learned from each other. That's very important. I'm still learning to this day. I haven't stopped learning. So yeah, I think that's a very important aspect. The human management as well. How we manage everybody within the team. There were so many parties, and just to actually get to satisfy two parties, it probably take you like half a year. To get things signed off and all that. So yeah, I agree with you. That's a very important aspect of the collaboration. Yeah.
And I want to add, once you reach to that level of understanding, collaborating each other, indirectly, when, let's say, in a session of bomba inspection, right? Let's say John having trouble with the session to answer bomba, we immediately goes in. We immediately went in answering on behalf of John. That's happened all the time.
Yes. We work very well together, I have to say. This was like my brother and my sister at site, I have to make sure, they were all there with me all the time. That's how it went. Yeah, definitely.
Like
so I'm glad I did that. Yeah?
Okay, as Lifa mentioned about human factor, right? This is where the spirit of cooperation is beyond management. You see, that's one thing about managing many people. I think, Azlifa, your point is more about the human factor, and then the human factor throughout the many people involved. I think, David, you touched more on the problems and the challenges that everybody face. I'd like to touch on the correct spirit that would make any collaboration work, because without this, then it's very difficult to get things to work together. So what I'm saying is that in project Puzzle F, each architect was willing to put aside individualistic architectural expressions. Architects, everybody wants to design things their own way. I've got this way to do it. I have my philosophy and all that. We put all that aside. We looked at the design by PRA, and we talk to each other. I mean, Saifuddin, myself, John, and we have to make Pakatan Reka's design to work. So that there will be no room for designing something, putting our own, kind of trademark or anything. We work together. We make sure that the ideas, drawings, and details are designed to realize that scheme which Azri was presenting. Okay, and to do that, we shared with each other, drawings, experiences, our experiences, the detailing that could work for this part of the building, for example. And then we brought it in, and we put aside all things like intellectual property, copyright. We just shared with each other like we are one firm. And in order for for anybody to be successful in collaboration, I think that's important. You can't be going into collaboration saying, sorry, this is my part. You want this design? You have to, let's deal. And another firm will say that, it won't work. Everything will fall apart.
You will have to pay for it, Jeffrey.
Yeah, you have to pay.
I'll send you my bill.
Same design, right, John? So we had no problems, in that design, and you saw that 3 blocks.
Yes.
We came up with design, conceptual design. I think John would say that our firm came up with the basic form of the design, and then we looked at towards John to look at how to detail those facades and all that. So
Like-
we work together throughout. Would you like to expand on that, John?
Yeah, just to quote what Saifuddin said, oh Jeffrey, ada dua blok, ikut je lah.
So just to like get a bit of a not summary so much, but like basically everyone finds this like not a particular place that you do find challenges in different places within the time period, but also you've managed to kind of grow into it or find a resolution pretty much right away. Yeah, if that's what I'm getting so far. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a few questions asking particularly about that, but I think we can elaborate even further. If you don't mind, just sort of, I think we've got a few minutes before we go for the break as well. Dr. Azumi, as president, he is still here also. If you want to add any comments, feel free to do so.
Azumi, we can see your picture, your face in a few of the photos. You got to explain yourself.
Actually, while you are talking, I am communicating with a client. And also I put them.
And me too, yeah.
Yeah.
In the chat group.
I think everybody are happy, okay, including the client. I think he really appreciate the collaboration, teamwork for this project team. I just maybe I just share a little bit that I partially involved as the checker of for this project, and as a checker, all the three architects actually gang up to fight with me against me.
Yeah, you have to elaborate probably how that will work.
So when at the beginning, so the perception is that when a checker comes in, so the role of checker is just to check and complain. So it's very offending for an architect when somebody complain your design, complain your detail drawing. So three of them gang up to go against me. Why you complain on this? So then I think we want to resolve this at the early stage rather than to handle the issues later during the construction. So at the end, we had a lot of workshop. We work together. We go into the detail. We resolve the problem before you go to the site. So although that at the beginning, the way we see each other is like the opposite party, but at the end, we work together. So as collaborators as well. So of course, my appointment is on the client side, and the three architects on the contractor side. But at the end, I think we're happy. And I would like to say that this is an example where actually the three architects can work together. And I'm sure they always say to me, they are ready, okay, to take more projects. And they say that they can, they don't want to break the tie. So they say that they are ready if any other client or big client want to give more big project. And I would say I'm ready to be their checker as well.
Oh no! Can I check you one time, Azumi? Thank you.
Unless if they want to bring me in together with them. Okay, that's a joke aside. But I think this is a really this is example how actually different practices, different setup actually can work together hand in hand, so that you can actually at the end serve the client in convergence what the needs of clients. Actually, the collaboration is not just the three architects. They have, I think, about 6 interior designers working together, and then don't mention about the engineer, civil. I mean, there are a lot more. Amazing how they coordinate and collaborate. In fact, I'm looking at the question by Adeline Chang here, Dr. Najah. I think this is a valid question.
Yes.
How do you handle the CCC, and separately, how can you issue the CCC in Form F instead of F1, partial CCC? I think that is something that we want to learn. So from the collaborator, maybe one of you can also respond to this. So,
yeah.
Okay, I would like to talk about the CCC. Yes, from the very beginning, before even the first submission, we went to sit with the authority and tell them how are we going to do that. And at first, they were a bit reluctant to receive because we submitted our Parcel F in portions. Yeah, because they actually in the very beginning they were they are so pushy to ask all the architects to submit under one submission under one architect. And then we said cannot, because we were given certain buildings, and fortunately or unfortunately, we were divided into 4 packages. PRA has 2 packages. So that's why at the end, the authority agreed that we have to go into 15 different submission, 4 being the podium, the shared podium, 2 by PRA, 1 by JMA, and then 1 by SNO, and then 10 number of building submission, F1, 2, 3 until 11 at F4, and 1 number for the pedestrian bridge by SNO. Yeah. So, and this authority always pening kepala, because they have to check so many drawing, and sometimes, as what I mentioned before, instead of checking in detail one by one, what they did was they called all of us to sit together and explain and told us what to do in general, and then we have to take back our drawing, amend it, and then go again to see them, the pre-consultation and so on. There will be repetitive of pre-consultation and so on. So at the end, when it comes to the actual CCC inspection, as I mentioned before, instead of we going to the inspection of our building, we had to go to everyone's building. Yeah, and it's not an easy task. It was difficult, but we managed to do it. And at the end, we managed to issue the 15 number CCC in one day.
Yeah.
Can I just add on to that?
Yep.
We're running a little bit of time, but just so
okay.
Yeah.
So I mean, yes, there are 50 numbers of CCC, and they were all issued at the same time. But to really understand why there were 15 in total, so the podium, because there are 3 architects, so it was divided into 4. But for the towers, because the developer actually had a requirement, say if one of the towers was completed before the others, and the end users wanted to move in, so hence the CCC for each tower had to be individual. So in the event that one tower was completed and the podium was completed, that CCC for that particular tower could be issued first, and the end users could move in, while maybe some interior works were still being done on all the other towers. So hence each building block tower had its own CCC, and the podium was split up into different CCCs because of the different PSPs involved. So hence altogether we ended up with 15, just so that it's clearer and you can understand. Yep.
Actually, there were many reasons behind it. So I think both Azlifa and Azri has done a pretty good explanation to it. Yeah. All right.
We've got
if I may,
yes.
And on a good note, Izumi spoke about the fact that we did not work in competition, but in collaboration. I think part of the main reason is that friendly to each other. And up to today, we remain friends. And for people to work over a period of 12 years, with all the egos involved in architects, I think this requires a lot of self-discipline. And as Jeffrey said, we had this value of sharing and getting it done. When the project is so long, after a while, the consultants, the architects just want to get it done properly and kept to site so that we can actually start building the building. And it was a long process, and we strive and work towards the end, getting the project built. Definitely. The other thing I think that helped us is that we were not in competition, because the project was divided after concept design among the 3 architects. And we knew exactly what parcels or what blocks we are getting. We were given 4 blocks, of which 1 was not built. And the others, SNO got 3, and Jeffrey had 3. So we knew exactly what we were getting, what we were sharing. So there was no need to sort of compete or try with each other to try to get more. We knew our place, we have our share. So with that in mind, we just went forward to get the design built and to get the best design built based on what resources we have. And we shared all the time.
Can I just add, do I have time?
Yeah, you can, but we have
okay,
like
a very
3
quick
more
one,
questions.
A very quick one. I have to say that I have to say that the team itself, I mean, from each architect, the team, that's very important, all right? From my boys, Eri, all the way, Saifuddin, myself, all of us, even my production staff, Jeffrey's side, you know, there was Yushairi, there was Hasnan. They really helped a lot, other than Azri and also Azlifa. We all worked as a team. It was fantastic. I think that is where collaboration is, all right? So as long as the 12 years were, I think we were working as a family. I think we still have to do it now, right? Until 2024. Oh no, there you go.
Okay, it's very enlightening. There are some questions. There is, I think panels can see them, so some of them might not be able to answer live, but if you can type the answers, that would be great. But just a quick one, just before we go into closing, we go for a break. There's talk, of course, about BIM building information modeling implemented in the project. So I think that was a question that I wanted to talk about as well. I think it's more about like, you know, the revolution of technologies and sharing information and things. But is there anything particular about how it was implemented from the start of the project that you want to elaborate on? Maybe any one of you, I think specifically.
Sharing of information technology.
Yeah, the BIM implemented.
The BIM utilization.
Oh,
Yeah.
The question asked whether BIM was implemented in this project or not.
Yes, yes,
of
it
course.
was.
It is from the
Yes.
beginning. It's one of the first, isn't it? Sort of.
We had a very strong team in Suncon actually doing this, so that helped a lot actually. They actually went through. We actually went through an entire process with them, building up the BIM model, doing all the clash analysis. So we were backed. We had a very good support, very good backup from Suncon. Yes, that helped.
The level of BIM that we attended to during site inspection, each team has an iPad. And as we walked through the site, we could see what's
I didn't.
up there, and then what it should be in the iPad, and look whether it's done properly to that extent. You know, it's one of the, I think there are many levels of BIM. I think Puzzle F is one of the highest. I think that there's some talk about that.
Interesting, yeah.
You know, the level
Just want to know whether or not, Jeffrey, it was implemented in your offices, or was it something one did?
Is it for
as a
them? Because
contractor?
yeah.
Did you document the entire building, model it in BIM?
Yeah, I think it was under Suncon. It was more under Suncon. They had an entire department of BIM, and they really helped us to actually build up the entire model.
That's actually,
yeah.
I've worked with Suncon before when I was at SCA as well. Yeah, they do have a whole development for architects as well. Yeah, so that's been interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm very sorry to cut short because I think we're going to go break, but all panels are still here. So hopefully we'll still stay at the end of the presentation, even with Architect Farid for the next session. But we've got one last maybe summary with everyone just sort of giving a bit of a less than 10 words sort of things, key point challenges that you from this collaboration that you might want to leave people with. And also possibly like with a specific question for Dr. Azumi on the checker. I think sort of how you can work together, because we're talking about collaboration, work better with design architects, because you got this team sort of, as you say, against you, but just sort of summarizing it in terms of, how to go forward after this,
I think it is when we did our role as a checker, whenever we talk, we have to talk specifically based on facts, based on regulation. It is not a preference. We cannot say that I prefer this, like that. But our role is only to check the compliance with regulation. I think we can talk about it more. We can have a more session like this. It's a very interesting session. But what I want to say here to all the clients, developer out there, this is an example that where we have the collaboration between Malaysian architect with another Malaysian architect and another Malaysian architect. Not necessarily we must have the foreign architect and then to do big job to collaborate with Malaysian architect. So please, this is example. It's proven that it can be done. Give more chance for us to grow bigger and then to collaborate among ourselves. Thank you.
And from everyone else, you want to summarize before we go to the for a quick break?
Well, I wish that we get bigger jobs like this. Off the record. But I think we said it all.
Okay. Architect.
Don't be afraid to enter into such collaboration. Please do it with open hearts. and positive minds.
Okay, Azri, we'll go around the room, yeah.
For me, it would be mutual respect. I mean, as a young architect coming into this job, to me, at the end of the day, that was it for the entire 12 years. Mutual respect for everybody, from the other two architects, the checker architect, even the clients and the design and build contractor. You instill that into yourself, mutual respect for others. You can do wonders, actually. Yep, thank you.
Architect Jeffrey?
I think it would not have been possible to make this collaboration a success without having good personality and interpersonal skills among the personnel in the firm. So because that's very important. So it's not just with the client, with the authorities. Interpersonal skills is paramount. So here I have to give credit to some of the people who work with me in my firm, like what Puan Azrifah mentioned, and Chiasnan, then Yusari, then Puan Dila, Mas Jo, Susanna, Jasman, Sarah, Mas Yani, and Hisham.
Oh yeah, Mas.
Yeah, these guys, they really dedicated themselves. It's not just about getting along with people. You actually have to do the hard work. What the crunch, where the crunch comes in, you just have to submit it tomorrow. It's not the time to argue. So you just have to find a way and how to get out of it. I mean, get the work done. So my contention is that you can put any team together, but without good personality and interpersonal skills, there'll be clashes and everything will fall apart. So that's important. You have to get the right people in. And then I give credit to the team, from the client to the consultants to the authorities.
Perfect. And last but not least, Architect David there. Did you want to add anything more? As a closing?
Yes, I think that the architects have worked well. I think on the whole, the architects and the consultants have worked together well. And the main thing is that we are still friends. We're friends with Saifuddin and Jeffrey. As you can tell, the rapport between Jonathan, Asri, and Azilifa is still there. We're friends with the client who has shown great leadership to take us through the project, and we're still friends with the contractor. I've seen projects, often from the outside, how people fall apart. And I think the great thing about this project is that after 12 years, with so many people involved, we're all still friends with each other and anxious to finish the project when we issue the certificate of final, when DLP is finished in 2024.
Sounds like a long way away then.
Debbie is going to host a party for that.
Yeah, no.
Okay, it's all
I think I
welcome.
need
Nice
to-
faces, right? So
Sorry, acknowledge again my partner, architect Effendi Ismail, who is the project director, who saw the project from start to finish, who's unfortunately unable to do this presentation for PRA.
thank you, Architect David. So with that, because the panels are still going to be here, so we'll try to answer more questions afterwards, and possibly with the next sessions also on collaboration. So with that, we're going to have 5 to 10 minute break. So you can refresh your drinks, take a little bit of a walk or exercise, and then hopefully come back here in 10 minutes.
All right.
10
Okay.
minutes, I think will be okay. All right, thanks everybody. I think that was a really good session. So please stay on, and yeah, we'll. I think we need to tie in also with how the collaboration works with the architect from PAM South, Architect Farid. So with that, I leave you for the next session. Thank you all.
Thanks.
Sustainability is the new norm. We are all fighting to survive. The sole proprietor architecture consultancy practice dilemma. We have nightmares. We struggle to embrace the new norm. We avoid issues about inflation. We are haunted by the economic recession. We feel guilt-ridden when we think of the increasing unemployment rate. We might not realize it, but we have responsibilities. If our clients don't pay our fees, how do we pay our employees? How will our employees put food on the table? How do we pay all the bills and loans? We have to mortgage all we have, our own properties to survive. We know what our priorities are, what is necessary and what isn't. We do not know what will the new norm be. When will this pandemic subside? How long will COVID-19 last? We only know our passion for architecture must grow sustainably, like a tree. We are mostly small architecture practices in a big ocean, the ordinary and average architect. We ask ourselves who we really are. What should we do to survive? What do we really need? And how should we sustain? So that we can sleep through the night with hope and thoughts. What do we desire most for our practice? Hashtag Giga is the new norm. Sustainability is the new norm. We are all fighting to survive. The sole proprietor architecture consultancy practice dilemma. We have nightmares. We struggle to embrace the new norm. We avoid issues about inflation. We are haunted by the economic recession. We feel guilt-ridden when we think of the increasing unemployment rate. We might not realize it, but we have responsibilities. If our clients don't pay our fees, how do we pay our employees? How will our employees put food on the table? How do we pay all the bills and loans? We have to mortgage all we have, our own properties to survive. We know what our priorities are, what is necessary and what isn't. We do not know what will the new norm be. When will this pandemic subside? How long will COVID-19 last? We only know our passion for architecture must grow sustainably, like a tree. We are mostly small architecture practices in a big ocean, the ordinary and average architect. We ask ourselves who we really are. What should we do to survive? What do we really need? And how should we sustain? So that we can sleep through the night with hope and thoughts. What do we desire most for our practice? Hashtag Giga is.
Okay, welcome back, everybody.
Hi.
Hi again. All right, so we are going to now, I hope everyone is ready for the next session of our promotion of profession this morning. Thank you very much for staying with us. Okay, so we had this morning, just to refresh everyone, we've got like a very, very enlightening and lively presentation from the collaboration works at Parcel F. And now we're moving on also on collaboration, but completely also a different approach to technology, to many different things, the gig economy, gig-based architecture, that we will hear from architect Farid. I will read a little bit about what he's going to be doing. So architect Ahmad Farid Abu Ghaffar is the principal of Farid Ghaffar Architect, and he is one of the representative, I guess, to talk about sole proprietorship since 2008. So he is basically working in Johor Bahru with mainly staff under the age of 35. So as I understand it, this is also more moderated towards geared to graduates and early career architects who are also learning to find ways to market themselves and sort of, with the economy we have right now, just in time with the economy just starting to open again. And he's founded his architecture consultancy practice, ACP, through this exploration of digital capabilities. And he's gone ahead with PAMSO down south, collaboration with a lot of different things, and coined the catchphrase of gig architecture as a one of the solutions for small sole proprietorship practices, because we are now getting into that change of, 4IR revolution, and definitely the importance of what we've discussed this morning about collaboration. So I think we can tie in that towards the end, and I'm pretty sure all the previous speakers before will have many questions. Architect Tariq, I hope you're prepared, because I think we probably have a lot more at the end, along with Dr. Izumi as the president to kind of go on. So without further ado, we had a video preview a little bit of what's coming ahead, but then I shall leave it up to you. The floor is yours, Architect Tariq.
All right, thank you. Salam sejahtera and good morning. Thank you our moderator, Dr. Najah binti Muhammad Alwi, yang berbahagia Dato' A.R. Izumi Arzani, our PEM President, A.R. David Teo, our convener for POP Workshop 3.0, respected fellow speakers, I'm really amazing of their works, Architect David Tay, Architect Jeffrey Marikan, Architect Jonathan, Saudara Hazri and Saudari Azlifah, fellow architects and audience. I think what we see previously is very amazing and interesting. By the first session, all of us, I think, hope one day we will reach that level, and then, as our practice grow. So, but now it's a completely different side of a coin. It will be. I'm mainly talking about sole proprietor practices. How do we survive the pandemic? Now, like Dr. Najah saying, we open up the economy. It's actually a V-shaped economy. It's coming back up. I think we do not want our sole proprietor practice to miss the boat in the recovery of our economy. So I hope my presentation today, I start with a somber mood. I hope, the video, I hope it won't discourage people. Then I will back up with a livelier slides, so that hopefully the rest of today will be a nice day for everybody to get some knowledge. Thank you for providing this opportunity again, and we cherish POP 3.0 as a platform available for average architecture consultancy practice like us to share and contribute our vision for the future of architecture. I hope you enjoy the trailer, especially with regards to the message that we wish to convey, especially in the South. It is an architect's kitchen table issues. These issues highlighted in the video are real, and there are prevalent challenges during this pandemic period, especially sole proprietor architecture consultancy practice, which comprises of 75% of registered practices in Malaysia, which is about 1,239 out of 1,663 registered ACP, architecture consultancy practice. Most of them are small, young, and new ACP. Sustainability is the topmost priority, and with COVID-19 challenges, most of us in the 75% group above struggle in enhancing sustainability. Drawing from our experience after embarking in IR 4.0 digitalization in year 2016, in our own word, and we term as gig architecture in 2019, we hope to share our own experience and journey with our Giga in this POP 3.0 in the same fashion that we did with digitalization in POP 2.0 in February. We hope our gig architecture can somehow inspire, especially the Gen Y, millennial, young, and graduate architects, student of architecture, and fellow senior architects as well. There could not be more crucial time than this COVID-19 to highlight the importance of collaboration. However, the version of collaboration takes a different approach. It is a collaboration between senior architect, young architect, graduate architects, and with the opportunity for student of architecture within the same project. Not different type of project, is within the same one project. That is where the collaborative with Giga make possible. Adopting collaboration through Giga architecture has a multiplication factor. More architects can offer their service within one project, thus more architects can sustain. Value adding conventional, one project, one architect, into Giga, one project, more architects. So we also foresee within the same notion, the collaboration can be extended between PEM as an organization and architects for the sustainability of our practice. Alhamdulillah, our gig architecture collaboration way of practicing not only assists in sustaining our ACP, our practices throughout COVID-19, we also grow actually from, we started out with 5, now we end up with about 40 staff. Okay, so the talk today, I will focus on Giga collaboration, a game reset by architects. So the last time in POP 2, basically I did a presentation on digital, a possibility of digital architecture in a practice. Then I think at that time, desperate times require desperate measure. So we thought digitalization was the key to save a lot of sole proprietorship company firms. So I think today we are continuing the mission possible. Actually, there are 2 parts of the presentation in February, but I was given a short time, so I focus on the digitalization. Now the second part is the gig economy, aka Giga. So it is actually a synthesizing gig economy platform into architecture consultancy practice, ACS, with the IR, Internet of Things technology. So it is actually about value in our practice. So continuing with our IR4 digitalization, gig architecture aspire not to revamp, but rather to coexist with the value add our conventional architecture consultancy services in our Architect Act. Eventually empower our service as a high quality, dynamic, and evolving future profession. So this is some of the works that we put in our practice. Basically, a value-adding conventional construction management, like a site report that we always see once a month. If the meeting is one site meeting. So actually, we due to the pandemic last year, most of our site meeting are online. So actually, we converted it into an apps for the client to monitor the work progress. So this make possible, even though a small practice, sole proprietor. So we do also value adding our conventional. This is the defect liability period. The first speaker were talking about the next job they have to do a lot of. We actually converted the process of recording all the digital defect liability period management faced via digital platform, which is our own apps called Beres. So adapting Giga collaboration is no doubt disruptive. I think we do face the same issue in 2019 onward, abnormal and uncomfortable. However, it is our opinion that for the future architect consultancy practice, architect, especially the millennial architects, young and graduate, need to explore new ideas and platform like Giga in order to stay relevant and eventually making our profession dynamic, progressive, and refreshingly stronger. With this in mind, we set our thinking very early that on that introducing Giga collaboration into our practice, we accept the fact that we will be misunderstood. Thus, we must persevere. What is Giga? We define our Giga, gig architecture, as synthesizing the gig economy platform, meaning that it's a sharing economy, collaborative economy, on-demand peer and platform economy into our architecture consultancy practice and into our architecture consultancy services, specifically in our case with the utilization of digital technology. So how do we do it? The recipe for our Giga is actually derived and inspired from 2 points, 2 ingredients. In our, I think, it's about lunchtime, maybe everybody think about food. So I think that's why we prepare in this manner. 2 points, ingredient in our Architect Act 19 and Architect Rules. Even though Giga will take precedence from the general concept of Giga economy, however, Giga will still be true to the original ACS and ACP, still remain specific to and be closely related to both. In that sense, Giga shall be an opportunity to reset the game by value adding. First ingredient is actually we look at the ACS in the architecture scale of minimum fee rule. Giga contribute to offer value-added services with specific skill, like in our case, digitalization. Second is actually our architecture consultancy practice in the Architect Act in order to assist architect sustainability via one project, more architects. We need a new way of working. First ingredient, with regards to the architectural consultancy services, our Giga has assisted us in value adding our practice with digital skill. Similar to the smartphone metaphor, main function remain the same as basic phone, and all other enhanced feature help to value add the total function of the smartphone. Similar to our ACS, basic services remain as the main services, while other services like apps, our operating system, our cloud, our IoT, Internet of Things shall value add to our architecture consultancy services. So this is the basic services. I call it Mr. Conventional in our awareness in the office. So this is nothing different. Everybody are familiar with this. We have 5 pillars from schematic design until final completion. And also we have another section that I think often mislook, especially when we take exam on part 3 also, we rarely talk about the all other services. I call it AOS, all other services. It's actually stated in the ACS, in our Architect Act, scale of minimum fee. There are other services like advisory services, additional services, supplementary services, project management services that architect can undertake. So we actually explore this to the most, to the maximum, using our Giga and using our digitalization to value add the entire Giga ecosystem. Oops. Okay. Our ACS architect, all other services, AOS for abbreviation, needs a vaccine shot to reclaim our hidden specialized skill and benefit, which I think a lot of small practices, all of them are actually possesses all the young and graduate architects some skills that can be utilized and value add to the system. Quite often these skills are absorbed into ACS basic services or become lost opportunity services and traditionally taken by other professionals or business entities such as digital project management, feasibility study, ICE, project marketing posters, brochures, e-showroom, project event management material. All these specialized skills are of the advantage of the young and the graduate architects. So what we did was we placed them in the same pillar, putting it the same emphasis between the basic services and all other services in the Architect Act scale of minimum fee. Our GIGA is about convenient marriage between basic services and other services. Both coexist in the same project, but maintain their individual values, which then create double benefit to the architects. It also empower and promote all other services that have valuable needs to the client with multiplication and amplification benefit as opposed to being absorbed as internal cost to under our basic services. These are some of the examples that we translated into our digital. These are all our pipeline apps that has been working in our project to monitor the project. So as an example, I presented this last part number 2. So now we talk about second ingredient. In order to promote sustainability among architects, especially young and graduate, we need a new way of working within our architectural consultancy practice. We require us to step out of our normal box, be comfortable with mixed collaboration among seniors, young and graduate and student in architecture. This collaboration can be achieved through 3 options: external GIGA collaboration, internal GIGA collaboration, GIGA collaborative operating system. So again, I'm using the metaphor of a petrol station as a mixed collaboration analogy where petrol and other entities such as food, groceries coexist. Our GIGA operate in the same realm between architects. I think this is, as a Muslim, even though we have to share the cake, I think if it's about the concept of risk is beautiful. Even if you eat the piece of fruit, it always return for you from the moment it grew from the tree. It passed through the hands of many people and places and travel this way throughout until it was in your hand. It's always will be mine. So I think it will not be a problem if collaboration through GIGA because of this concept. So the second, give me a second. Okay, this is about the external GIGA collaboration. So it's actually adapting freelance gigs independent. This is the basic concept of GIGA. So, but in our system, having more than one architect in the same project, creating more platform for an opportunity for other architects. So imagine if you have one project, in the typical setup, you only have one architect as a PSP, but with using the GIGA, that overlapping the basic services and all other services, if all other services are undertaken by architects, especially the young architects and the graduate architects, so we will have more architecture profession involved in one project. So hence, it actually will create more platform and opportunities for architects. The second option is actually creating internal mismatch GIGA collaboration. We embark in training our staff with a new specialized skills, digital, to enhance our architect consultancy services, all other services in 2 phases. In year 2016, we were specializing in drone-related presentation, and in year 2020, we moved quickly into a full-blast apps in architectural profession. Open to the idea of working independently as a project base with specialized skill, each which gig value, and they can choose to work on projects that they are passionate about or get paid extra for their expertise. So we treat our staff quote unquote like a partner in digital. So they are actually compensated accordingly, according to the GIGA skill that they provided to the system. So educating and training internal staff to be independent contractor, project-based, gig staff with specialized gig skill and value. We actually have a master plan of each skills and values to be chosen by our staff. And then at the end of the day, most of them now actually on pipeline already. We have our DLP apps launching tomorrow with our Menteri Besar Johor to assist developer in actually assisting a low-cost housing, affordable housing project for the benefit of purchaser to complain their defect through an app system that will synchronize with everybody, developers, contractors, subcontractors, consultants, especially PSP architects. Developing specialized skill team to value add existing architecture team. So we do have, this is a mismatch part of it. We recruited an apps developer and IT team into our architecture to make them understand what is architecture before they actually develop the apps from the point of view of architects. The third option, our Giga operates on a standard operating system. We call it OS. FGA 4COD OS that can be facilitated in total collaboration among our participating architects. Having a standardized, specialized platform will empower us to garner more benefit by providing all other services. Again, more combination of architects, senior, young, and graduate will provide more benefit and offer sustainability to our practice. In our system, I have actually 3 architects who gotten their AR last year. So they open up their office. We're still collaborating in terms of using a standard operating system in their project. Some of their new architects who undertake a project now, they are using our system. So I am it's like the senior become a lower than the junior for their project. But in the spirit of collaborative for sustainability of our practice, that is really not a big problem. So, for example, some of the sole proprietor can undertake certain percentage of using the Giga, the operating system. Then I think that means eventually everybody got a big piece of the services that to help them sustain their offices. So the question now is whether is it worth exploring our Giga. So I think we look at it as innovation is taking 2 things that exist and putting them together. So I think like digital is completely something new, disruptive yet abnormal. However, in this next slide, I'm making a case study of a typical project undertaken by sole proprietor, a 20 million below. One of our project is a very simple low-cost housing, affordable housing projects. Then I think I will enlighten you of the economic benefit of collaborating with Giga. So if you take that data of project 20 million based on scale of minimum fee, we dissected it into each of the 5 pillars. The basic services under scale of minimum fee, it is equivalent. Our project undertake about 9 months. With a value of 115,000. If we convert it into a monthly, basically we are being paid 13,000 monthly. However, we do get a consent from the client when we show our capability. So we undertake a few of all other services, not the basic services. 3 of the all other services, aka Giga. So each of them are actually being paid 20,000, 30,000, 50,000 as a lump sum fee, whether within a month, most of them are within a month of works, not the entire 9 months. So it's actually, eventually, if you add all these figures, it's actually quite equivalent to what you get from your basic fee. We dissected it again in the design development phase, which is taking us about 5 months for this National Affordable Housing Project. So the value of the fee on the basic services, 232,000, which is equivalent to 40,000 monthly. But our Giga kicks in to complement. This Giga is undertaken by our young architect who just open up their practice. So I give it back to them to undertake this Giga 4 and Giga 5. They are of a value 30,000 and 10,000. So this is in the DD phase. If you talk about in the CD phase, not much there, but it's still a value. Similar comparison between basic services and Giga, all other services fee. Then this is where the Giga helps us a lot in terms of our sustaining our total fee. Basic services, under the basic services, if you make a comparison, 194,000, which is 5,000 monthly. Because of the scale of fees, 70,000 before your CHIM, basically 30,000, 30%, 25.5 is in your CIM and FC phase. So our Giga kicks in with all our apps, our digital. So they are actually, some of them are on a lump sum basis less than a month. Some of them are actually a subscription fee that are paid over the entire 3 years for the usage of the apps. So I think it is something that I hope the young and the graduate architect can see. You don't have to go outside the architecture. Put your skills into the architecture itself. Have faith on our Architect X, because I think we have been using the same conventional for many years. So now with the COVID, it opens up our mind. So I think that is an opportunity to actually to take advantage of your specialist skill. You have to develop the special skill. We developed it since 2016. We only benefited it in 2020 onward. So I think have faith on that. It actually does help us right through this difficult time. So if you talk about, we have one of the biggest Giga system that we are using. It actually contracted us under the subscription fee, like you subscribing Microsoft projects or this. We have to put the Giga on that subscription fee method. Only then it will help us to actually, if you compare a 5,000 monthly to a 25,000 on Giga 9 monthly, so there is something that can to be shared with. This is also where a lot of architects are actually putting minimum effort in our final completion phase. Basic services only about 1,600 monthly. Compared to Giga that we are offering a defect liability apps that are putting us almost equivalent since it's a simple apps for defect. So I think it actually an additional income, additional opportunity benefit to us by embarking in this Giga effort. So I think the most important thing when we negotiated our Giga, since it has to be shared under the same platform, under the same project, we maintain that it should be paid separately, independent of our basic services. If not, it will got swollen by our basic services. So I think we have a few. I mean, the digital helps a lot into making it independent, not to be part of. I'm making an example. If you use an apps for the project management, compared to that you use BIM. BIM is considered part of the cost in the basic services. It did not drive you an additional income. So apps that we created is completely the other way around. It cannot be part of the basic services. It has to be paid separately, especially Giga is a specialized work and creative work. Oops, give me a second. All right, so I think the conclusion of it, I think we need a new thinking, new possibility, moving from normal to abnormal. Abnormal we have to be comfortable with abnormal. Then I think you will see the result of your investment in your specialized skill. We do have to revamp the entire office thinking. Before not only collaboration with professional, collaboration within our own staff. Of course, it is disruptive. Some are actually receptive, some are not. But eventually, we manage to, when they see the benefit of it, especially when we share the benefit immediately from their contribution to the Giga, rather on top of their salary. So I think it is as a whole ecosystem, it is beneficial to a lot of people. So then there's a challenge that I'm putting on the south on our Persatuan Pertubuhan Arkitek Malaysia Southern Chapter. There's also this is a challenge to us in the association. We actually can also collaborate with our members by using Giga. This is a test pilot project that we have tested with our state government housing Exco committee. We thought PEMSO or PEM should be the custodian of this project, in the sense that PEMSO can control what we call it pre-approved development drawing unit. This is like JKR. If you do JKR, a standard drawing. So standard drawing is actually can be owned by. This is a test. This is not a real project yet. That means PEM can be the custodian of all the standard drawings for affordable housing with the royalty or with a fee. Then I think it can distribute down with all the members practicing officers to undertake. Like this one, we were entrusted to about 400 unit of housing to help the poor and the needy. So I think we tested this between PEM, and then yet we have not rolled to the practices in Johor Bahru in the Southern Chapter. But it is possible with whatever experience that we have embarking since 2016 in my practice. So I think this is giving back to our fellow architects. That means something that we are going to work on, since this project is actually now in a critical stage. So we offer our total collaborative concept to the state government of Johor. Next. So I think that's about it from a small practice in down south, to our understanding of collaboration for a small practice like us, so proprietorship, collaborative, or using Giga. Thank you very much. I hope it enlightened you of this abnormal concept. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Architect Farid Ghaffar, for that very, very detailed, also very metaphorical presentation to break down for many probably also that missed in the past, I think, in the part number 2 of your presentation before. There's 1 or 2 questions, but I think to start with, we still have all panels from before to also kind of have a thought about the new approach presented by Architect Farid just now. I'm sure this kind of sparked a little bit of understanding. So if you were to even like embark with the projects you had before, this 12 years, yeah, and then you come here with Architect Farid with the project on digitalization straight away, changing dynamics of how people are getting onto the projects. I think there's 1 question which I probably just go ahead and ask first, sort of to do with Paris specifically. This is the platform that you are actually, the app that that's used in your practice, yeah, Architect Farid?
Yes, it's our own design platform without a third party. It is in-house venture, in-house effort.
I'm just wondering as well if we could start, like, so for example, how do other proprietorship, like, firms to start with, do we actually have to have your own app, or is it an actual platform that
not really,
anyone could get?
Not really. Like I mentioned earlier, in 2016, we decided to actually get we want to be expert in drone presentation for our projects as a value add to our services and to be competitive. That is, so from there we grow slowly. Only when we start in 2020 with the first pandemic PKP, we finish our apps that we have actually developed since 2016. We finalized it in June 2020. So now we are actually bearing some fruit with the system. So we are actually very, very busy with digital architecture for this year.
Yeah, I can imagine with the pandemic as well, people being like at home, and then still having the mobilization to be part of the projects that you involve, right? I'm wondering also, just in general, in terms of, because we talked about, like, our session today is about collaboration, yeah. So does that include sort of mentorship as well, when you get, like, with the young architects, there's so much specialization when they get offered the platform? There's of course the income, but there's also that narrowed specific tasks that they do. So say, for example, like yeah, like the expertise will be different levels, as you say. Some would be like, 5, 6 years, 10 years. The other ones are also like coming into the projects. Is there a way to manage that as well?
Oh yeah, we do. We like I said, we truly stay in the giga economy, specialized skills. So I think we do have to have a master plan. I mean, digital is only one example. It's not giga can be any other thing. It's just fortunate that we embark in a digital, and then we never stopped since then. Each of the staff that chose to be, it's just like our PEM subcommittee lah, So some are in the what do you call it, in the like our side project meetings. We no more using a paper. They are all no more in the site in the last year mode. So but yet all our clients are well informed every month of what is the status. Our drone fly during PKP. Our drone translated the data into our apps. Our apps are shared by all our stakeholders, including in the housing project, including purchasers. So I think, since we are doing the entire under giga, so our client just refer to us for an information, then they are all in the apps reporting. So I think that's how the advantage of in our case using the digital, and with the different thinking in our office, the staff no more like a normal architecture practice. They are actually, architecture and digital. So it's kind of exciting. Like you stressed earlier, the reason we chose under 35, under 40, actually, the simply reason of the digital understanding. We cannot train so much. It will take a long time. So we have to get the millennial generation to actually pick up the process.
Yeah, so that's the interesting bit. So you got like a different generations working into this. But I would also probably just invite the other panels to come join in as well, and just have, I'm sure you have some queries, because I can see some faces here, Architect David, Architect Jeffrey, and everyone else. Is there anything you think that possibly something like this you could take on as well, like with a project like Putrajaya before? Do you think it's something that we can actually do?
Architect Fari, I'd like to ask a question about the in our subcommittee meetings when we were planning this workshop. You were talking about how you were able to convince your clients to take the scope from, let's say, about property marketing. What do you call that, graphic designer scope, and we as architects, we can do this kind of scope, but we have to market it in a different way as an additional or a supplementary service. How did you go about doing that? I think partly also due to pandemic. I mean, COVID itself presented us an opportunity. I think everybody had to move, even though there is a restriction of moving. So like, for example, in our Pengerang with the Petronas, they have to actually, the showroom actually, you can access the showroom. Then I think we offered our separate services of developing integrative marketing, e-marketing brochures, e-showroom, so that they be able to move on with their business. So I think when they see type of investment, type of digital product that we show, I think for that reason it's easy for us to convince them it cannot be part of our basic services. This has to be a total the supplementary services. We try to educate them on it is, and I think timing on the on the client side also very, I mean, like
we actually also do a launching, a key handing ceremony. Like tomorrow is a key handing ceremony. We do the entire event management, and then we at the end of it is our DLP apps, so that we register 425 purchaser on the apps to complain. So we have to take it a totality. If we take it big pieces, I'm actually was surprised that when we did a project launching a couple of years ago, the event management charged so high, actually. So I think they take our perspective, they take our digital animation work as free, in the conventional way. So then suddenly they are charging like a few $100,000. So we say, hey, why not we do the thing? We told client we can do much better than the event management. So from there, the word spread out that we offer a totality in our services. Even though it's small, but it's actually very controlled, very specialized and very focused. So there are a lot of other services that I think specialized skill that we did not take advantage as a value-added fee. We always keep it in the basic services, and of course, basic services. The pandemic, people won't pay. A lot of things. So we survived to 2020. A lot of them are not on the basic services fee, on the all other services that we, as a small practice, that we offer to our client. For them to move, they are also anxious, nothing move. So, but the digital video reporting, video data, apps data keep coming in like usual. We also make jokes at the side when the police come over. We say our drone is not subjected to PKP. Only the human being can go. so we tak kena saman lah for that.
What I find amazing is that, and I must congratulate Architect Farid for this, that he's able to get additional fees for the additional work. Often architects do those things and they're lumped as part of our basic fee. And too often we don't want to volunteer any additional services. We're scared to offer additional things because the client, too often or not, would take them and say, yes, they're really good, but we can't pay you more for it. And what he said about the marketing people is absolutely true. How they take our plans, colored plans, our perspectives, our walkthrough, and even our videos for free, because they take it from a client and then they use it as part of their marketing. So they make money from our work. So Farid, I have a lot to learn. I've learned a lot today, but how to implement it to get additional fees requires great skill. And I think you have exhibited that great skill to get additional fees for beyond basic services.
I think what your GIGA has achieved is actually to open up the minds of architects that we are not just confined to earning fees, not just fees alone. This is actually something very enterprising, and is a mind and eye opener that architects should be entrepreneurs. And in a way, a lot of, the necessity is the mother of invention, so people say. So this is something that's necessitated by the pandemic. And it's very good that you have taken this problem and created something that can be a model for other architect collaboration, not just to collaborate on getting fees for basic services, but actually to do something completely different. Yeah. So I think that's how we should move forward. Only my question is that, is there a fixed management company who will manage this kind of collaboration? Surely there must be some sort of a secretariat, so to speak, to manage all the distribution of the money, or is there some form of escrow account in the bank that when it comes in and is distributed automatically to all the participants?
Yep.
Could you maybe?
They do. In fact,
if
we also actually translate your interim certificate at the site. When we go with our Giga physical inspection, automatically the percentage, the value transfer into QS apps. We build it ourselves, not QS build it. So automatically, we haven't reached our, let's say for example, our office in Johor Bahru, our project in Pengerang. So before we reach our JB office after inspection, all the figures already distributed to client based on whatever we have inspected at the site. Traditionally, you have to go back to the office, then you got to redo the certificate. So if your site is in Sabah, you are in Johor Bahru, you will take about more than a week, to come up with the certificate. Our certificate are actually on the same day that we finish our inspection. So these are the possibilities are very, but I think the worry to me is when I have to guide the younger architect in my office is that please stay within the realm of architecture first before. There are a lot of Giga now moving out towards to me the architecture practice. I think done by the architects. I think in my personal capacity and opinion, it should not. There are so many potential in our traditional architecture consultancy services and practices that have yet been value add by our younger. The challenge is to our younger generation, and I think a team of 16 people, a team that are fully digital in my office, they have done a wonderful job in understanding there are so much value that can be added to our conventional practices and services.
Architect Fahri, I'd just like to ask you a question about this mentorship that you were mentioning. You have previously communicated with us in the committee meetings about how your own staff are able to pass the Part 3 exam very quickly with the first go. Tell us how you managed to do that. How you managed to?
David. I did that because I think we actually the challenges side of our venture is that we got stuck in 2019 because we are not apps developer, but we want to do architecture apps. So there are two collaborative segment that need to collaborate: the apps specialist and the architect. So I think when we decided to do it ourselves, getting internal support from the apps developer staff. So to do an apps, you have to go step by step, A, B, C until Z. So the architect that in charge of it is just like him, studying for his Part 3. So automatically he enrolled into a Part 3. He was surprised himself, he got passed. So two of them are doing that, and then they already now have their own office. One architect digital office, one younger practice. So I think that we collaborate again in our system. It does help actually, because you have to do the new thing. You have to go back to basic, step by step until you understand the entire practice.
Yeah, there's a question to do with the specific app with the barriers. I think not too dissimilar to what Architect Jaffrey was asking before as well, sort of with contractors for the cost of their contract and getting the app. Is there like a, might be reading this wrong, but is there like a way to administer the contract administration through the app actually?
Oh yes, we do have a very comprehensive Kongsi, that takes care of your drawings are in your phone, your BQs are in your phone, your HDA inspection are in your phone. So we build everything in the phone. So it actually would be very good for young architects and graduate architects to actually, if you follow the apps, it's just like you are reading your part 3 exam in that sense. So actually it built the system built that way. So when they go to the site, they have to ensure if they respond to the apps, so I think the flow will fail, and then we know something wrong, with the inspection. So of course we will issue we call it a apps late card, NCR. So I think those are actually very comprehensive. What I shown just now, a glimpse of it. We have actually 21 apps, fully developed, 4 apps for the project management and the defect management. We actually also finalizing our feasibility apps. I think this is also a lot of free services that architects have been given. I think we also say this cannot be forever. So if we develop the apps, you will be able to inform our client whether the affordable housing is feasible to be on the site or on this particular site. If not, we changes with the apps, we changes many sites actually, because it proven not affordable for affordable housing, or feasible for affordable housing. So they are actually, I think with the support from Dr. Izumi, I think the what do you call it, the CPD committee, I was asked to actually did a 6 series workshop, coming soon after the part 3 exam. So I think we will show you step by step in the 6 series of how this knowledge of architecture can be translated into a digital platform.
Yeah,
that's part of our contribution to the association.
I think there's a couple of questions here about wanting to participate definitely into this sort of platform. I think was just wondering if you would actually strongly recommend the programming part as one of the things that need to be, as an architecture graduate, sort of, like as you say, you want to do the workshop specifically on digitizing architecture practice. So there's the part 3 bit, and then how you transfer it, and there's a lot of information or keywords probably getting confused in between, what will be digital, what will be. I think this is basically with every stage of the processes and in the firms coming up in the future as well. I think there are definitely parties across the chapters all over, not just like in the central in Kuala Lumpur. Would you welcome possibly like collaboration works in the future to get this going?
Yeah, we actually if we want to share with our fellow architects, we have actually we are actually working together with CIRIM Innovation to actually ensure that the viability of our apps are worth going to public. So I think certain need to be there is a checker, there is a body that do this. I think which is CIRIM. I mean, as an architect, eventually we got to venture all this government department to certify our apps.
Yes, definitely.
So
yeah.
I think we passed that. Now we are on the level of Magic. Magic is funding our creativity, with a grant, so that it can be certified, it can be at international level. Then we can roll out to public. Developing early apps is easy, but maintaining it is another issue with all the bugs. So this one actually need a full-time, but it has to be. It is an exciting journey for young architects, because this is your knowledge on architecture. I mean, imagine all your part 3 knowledge that you study, and then you put it in this platform, then you're practicing it with it. I mean, this is your work actually. So I think eventually it is. I'm just a thinker only. So I think a lot of the two are the graduate and the young architect in our office. So kudos to them. I mean, they make it possible for an eye-opening way of doing future architecture.
A lot of changing errors, definitely from BIM. You put that as a whole different separate package as well, right? And then you put this as well, and then this digitalization. So this is sort of part of the information age, I guess. Just to sort of bring over, maybe I will invite Dr. Izumi to also probably comment on this sort of how you want to go further from this today, and yeah, like we've got so many future planning already as everything is booming and getting together again. So, Dr. Izumi, I open the floor
Thank
to you.
you, Naja. So actually, for the past, I think 5 years, we are looking into sort of application or system that where actually the architect can coordinate the work. So we have seen how Singapore use the APEC system. We have seen the Association of Siamese Architects. They did the presentation in PAM. Singapore Institute of Architects, so they did in PAM. We thought that we want to collaborate, but until I think about 3 years ago, Farid drove all the way down from JB, came to see me. I made an appointment, want to see me at PAM. Then he said that he's developing this. I said, this is very good. Then he said, I'm giving it for free to PAM. I said, no, we can sell it to our member, okay? So how much are you giving us to PAM? The commission. He said, no, I'm giving it for free. So that's how it started. So what he said that he just need the platform, okay? How to engage with our members. I said, okay, I give you a platform. You can do the CPD channel, then you can continue to develop. Then this is what was then, and now this is what happened today. So we can see that how Farid has done in PAM Southern chapter. It shows that the different level of digitalization, although that I would say that this is still at very beginning, but it has shown that a lot of things that can be done. So he also shared with me that how they started with a few programmers subsidized by the government at that time. But I think it was a really great idea that for maybe the architecture office, the architect's office, to have maybe a programmer in your office. Okay, because the way I look at it, okay, you need somebody also, for example, to maintain your digital information in many ways, including even your website, your homepage as well. And I believe that this is the direction of future. Maybe English is not going to be the universal language in future. It's a machine language, which is a digital language is the future language. So that's why I thought that Farid just spoke everybody. We are so complacently ignore the importance of digital language, but now it's proven that it's something that we have to seriously look into it.
Okay.
Thank you, Dato'. Yeah.
Thank you, Dato'. Azmi. And I think Architect Jonathan or Architect Azri, do you want to comment on anything on what you've seen so far?
Well, from just based on my experience, I mean, again, I went into Parcel F as a young designer architect. So back in 2007, obviously, all this tech that we are so used to now wasn't readily available as such. As you say, as they say, I mean, necessity is the mother of all inventions. So I applaud Architect Ahmad Farid and his team for actually progressing further, you know, and using this pandemic as an opportunity to really open up or to really push the profession to actually keep up. Actually, we're just keeping up with whatever that is required of us, you know, embarking on the digital trend. Like I think some of the pictures that you saw, I actually, even back then, I tried to go paperless as much as possible. So I was around that site with my iPad, all the drawings were actually there. And even in coordination meetings, we were all looking through computers, laptops, iPads or tablets, you know, whenever we could. And when the contractor came in, as Architect Jeffrey mentioned, you know, they also had their iPads with Navisworks, I think, looking at what is built at site and actually looking at it against the BIM model. So moving forward, I've always wanted to sort of, you know, find opportunities to actually streamline this entire process. So because at the end of the day, whatever that we do as architects, it's always do step A and then B, C, D. But all that, you know, you actually go back to reading books and things like that. So what Architect Farid has actually done was actually digitize everything out, and everything's actually, you know, in the palm of your hands, you know, through your handphone, which I think is absolutely fantastic. And that really is the way forward. Good job, Architect Farid.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I may add that as well. Yeah, everything in your hand, so your phone is actually very important to you now. You can't really go anywhere without it. The only thing is, I think it changes the dynamics of how we actually, practice. Currently, if I look at it, I don't even have a laptop when I was, what do you call that? The iPad in 2007.
Yeah, not yet.
Yeah, everybody's like, complaining about me not having that, blah, blah. And I'm still in the old school. I'm looking at drawings on the table and all that, information was difficult to pass by. I have to call here, look in the book there and things like that. So I think it's great now that everything is just in your palm. I don't, but this process, I mean, you're in architect, sorry, you're in the beginning stage of it, or you say you're still developing all these programs. So is it like it's going to take you a while, or?
Actually, we are to the tail ends of it already. We started 2016, 2020 we roll it up, whichever require under pandemic necessities, and then I think we are just rolling more, either this year or next year. More mean we look during the pandemic, the phase of architecture services in contract management and defect, we prioritize that first because those require physical physical inspection, physical meeting. So as of next year, we want to go back to the beginning, the schematic phase, the DD phase. Then we will see how our apps can assist architect in providing value-added services, not part of the basic services. That one will kill us for sure. So it has to be in that manner.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it's great job. Great job, actually. I really like what you're doing, seriously. It's time for that, actually. Your brain has that much capacity, so something is helping you in your palm now. So that's good. That's a good way forward. Thanks.
Keep the synapses going, yeah?
Yeah, correct.
May I just ask Architect Farid to comment about something? You see, as architects, we are always project-based, meaning that there's an opportunity cost. That meaning there's opportunity cost in the sense that we can only sign up this particular client for this time and resource these resources to do a particular project and complete it within 4 years or 5 years or something like that. But what you are offering as an architectural entrepreneur allows the digital services to be scalable. It could be 1 user, it could be 100 users, it could be 5,000 users doing or subscribing to an app on multiple projects around the country or around the world. And that is part of the digital revolution, IR4, where we need these sorts of things. And as architects and creatives, you're also looking at, to elaborate further on what you were presenting at the end, where you're talking about how we can do the same or similar things for template housing or template plans, and using an organization like PAM to be the custodian of these template plans.
Yeah.
We can farm this out to various architects, and they will run the services as described in basic services in the architect's rules.
Yeah.
They don't get paid for, maybe they don't get paid for the SD or the DD. They just get paid for the CD onwards, implement them on various sites. So maybe you can probably elaborate on this, and maybe you'd like to hear from Dato' Izumi as well on this, because it might be something worth exploring. Thank you.
Okay, Dato' Izumi first, or?
Maybe I just share a little bit.
Okay,
I think this prototype approval or pre-approved plan concept has now been done, especially for the government project. There was issues about how much fee should be considered as being paid. So it means that the fee will not be paid on the design stage because the design has already been done. So there are a lot of discussion on that. More or less there is some agreement. Okay, but that is among the government agency and for government project. But for the private project, I think it is something which is possible for us to look at it. In fact, I think in some of the states in United States, they have this prototype approval system if you are doing, for example, petrol station, because petrol station is very much prototype, you get the plan approved for one type A, type B, type C. The next you want to develop, you don't need to get the approval for every prototype. If you maintain the design, then you can straight away get approval for the development on that plot, then you can construct. So we have also discussed about this with local authority before, prototyping, especially the building type, like the one that I mentioned, petrol station, because it's very similar. But there are other issues that are of very much concern on that I think we have to look into the detail part, like what David mentioned just now. I think it is possible if we can, we want to develop maybe the almost perfect design that can be used, can be adopted, then maybe PEM can be the custodian, but the ownership of the design and everything, that one we have to look into the detail, the contractual part of it, we have to look into the detail, the design liability, we have to look into the detail, but there is something that which is possible, and it is very, I think, I would like to think that it is viable to implement it in the future.
I add on Dato' Izumi, I think the necessity, especially next year, especially in the southern, is that the implementation of all affordable housing. So the process that a lot of excos, perumahan in Johor, they cannot afford to, if you go back to conventional, it would take a long time for the house to be built. And yet a lot of, a lot of rakyat want affordable housing quickly. So that's how we talk to them about having certain standard put on a digital platform, and then they can actually cut down on the bureaucracy, I mean, so I think like they were talking to us about just putting a good affordable housing plan, just like in Selangor last time, right? We have here PKJ, all this actually, because each project, each developer under the 60-40 requirement for the low cost, they will take a lot of time to implement the affordable housing. So they wanted to cut down on the delivery time for the affordable housing, for the low cost housing. So I thought if we cut down on the DD, the SD phases with a standard plan, like we always do last time with JKR, JKR school, which they have a standard plan and standard document, that would be, and then having the capability of digital, which the purchaser can actually look at, I mean, the affordable housing, they can choose from the UPenn website or whatever. Actually, it's possible. I agree with Dato', but I think like 60% or 50% of the documentation can actually be standardized and put on the platform of digital. That will save a time. So I think whenever the state government, we can help the state government as a social responsibility. They can undertake the project really quick. I mean, if it's all on the standard drawing, we will ask to also, take the possibility of if they want to do marketing for affordable housing, balloting. All these actually require physical process, which I think now, I mean, it's not a feasible way to do. So I thought of, if I was telling them, if PEM involved, PEM will get a royalty. That is a benefit to the PEM account. Then PEM can distribute this to a member. Then I can undertake the project according to where part of the state district they are. And then they can take the opportunity. So we distribute more. My intention is actually, the collaborative part of it is actually, if I'm a senior architect, I undertake a project, I can use a junior architect or a friend who's just set up an office to undertake all other services. So we cooperate in that sense, we collaborate in that sense, one plus more architect in the same project. So that way, I think we share the cake among ourselves. Everybody can sustain, some more, some less, but at least everybody have something to sustain. That was the intention for KIGA actually in the beginning.
Okay, thank you, Architect Farid and Dato' Izumi as well. So we've kind of almost come to the end of the session, haven't we? I think either your tummy's rumbling for break for lunch or something else as well. But also, I think just to close, I think a lot of people asking here, also asking where to find, as it's open source can the app. So when is it available to download? Where can you find? Maybe you can share that in the chat somehow.
This one I have to discuss with Dato' Izumi first.
Yeah, that's the thing we need to probably
keep it a secret first, Dato'.
Because we wonder whether the app
test out.
you have to be an architect to download it. Mesti ada limitation, but whether it's only an architect or anybody can download the app. So
I'll give you an example for tomorrow event. The MB will download the apps into his iPad. Then he will complain.
So it's going to be a demonstration.
He will do a round of inspection of the houses. Then if he find, he will complain through the apps, and then he want to see how the response, distribute to all other developers, subcontractor, contractor, consultant. So it's actually not for the usage of architects only, lah. I mean, they are all stakeholders.
Including house buyers. If house buyer,
the defect is actually built for the purpose of purchaser, because I think a lot of complaint is the 30 days, the 60 days under HDA, then you end up in tribunal. So I think we have successfully fight tribunal last few months ago with the apps. The developer proved to the tribunal that they have attended the defect accordingly, because it is distributed in the app system. So I think that was a big major plus to us. So
I hope it reduces disputes in a way, because right now people say dah buat, then somebody say tak buat lagi.
Imagine
that kind of thing.
Imagine last year when let's say you do a VP last year. So I think when they move in, then you cannot PKP, then you cannot complain to the developer office because you are under PKP. So the apps was meant that you can use your handphone, at your fingertips, you take a photo or video of the defect, you send it to the apps will distribute to all stakeholders, developer, architect, PSP, so that means we immediately send an instruction under the apps that, you have to rectify accordingly. So if you have MITI, you go and rectify, so all those actually reduces the backlog last year, so they continue this year. So those are one of the example, from the perspective of buyers. But of course, in the beginning, it's not easy to convince developer to help buyer complain.
Because they would see that it works against their interest. Tapi if benda ni facilitate happiness of the house buyers, it benefits the developers in the end. You are providing a service that if you buy a house from us, you won't have to worry because we will attend to you because we have this app. That kind of thing. It could work positively. Just that change is very difficult for people to embrace. The resistance to change. But I think it is something that the developers should embrace.
Jeff, just for your information, what Farid shared with us is only part of it. I think he has developed a lot of modules, including defect is one thing, progress inspection, progress report, and contract documentation. There are many modules. I can't remember, so a lot of names. Some of them is funny name. They just so many. So, but I think what Farid has successfully done, that he has a master plan, the roadmap for all his apps, so that when he's going to implement this app and when he's going to develop further this app. So I think that is important, that because app development is not just about doing it for once and use it. I think you have to continuously develop. So then only it can last for a very, very long period. So I think it is good that Farid shared with us, with PAM, with the institute, that we can engage more people. We can also give feedback for him to further develop. So like what Farid said, there are many modules. So there are probably modules that we can share with everyone, and when Farid is ready. Okay, I think he is stay in testing mode, and of course not sharing with everybody, but some I think among his consultant is doing that. I think until he is comfortable, then maybe we can get more people to test the app.
Understand. Looking forward, Architect Farid. Looking forward to what's coming. So what you've done today is to give us a view of what is coming soon. You know, like what is the
Preview.
future?
It's a preview.
It's a preview of what's coming. So we are looking forward to that.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Okay, so I'm just moving on before we close entirely. So we want to take a group photo first. Is Garis going to take this picture or yeah?
Yep, from outside.
Ah,
Okay.
okay. So
Okay, guys. So everyone open camera. Okay, ready?
cameras.
Okay. 3, 2, 1. Okay, ready? Another one. 3, 2, 1. And okay, and that team. Okay, all
Tag
right.
team open
Okay.
also.
Thank you.
Okay.
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 Okay, ready? 3, 2, 1. Another one. 3, 2, 1. All right. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you,
On
everybody.
behalf of Pamya, thank you so much for so much learning today, and we appreciate your time, and we hope you benefited from this session. And like everyone here, I think collaboration is only starting. We know that it's good vibes from working for long periods of time and moving on to digitization. So yeah, any last words maybe around, or we're gonna be happy to just leave the session now?
Naja, I would like to thanks all the panelists, the speaker today for the sharing. So I hope that all the participants, the audience also learned a lot from this. So I think this is what we are going to do all the time. I know that we have taken this opportunity during this pandemic to have a lot of Zoom meeting, workshop, and also the webinar. So even though after this, maybe we can go back to physical meeting, but I believe that we should continue with this virtual platform as well, so that we can engage wider community. For example, today we can have Farid, who is in JB now, so that that also open opportunity for our members in the chapter, Sabah, Sarawak, East Coast chapter, Northern chapter. So I hope that member will continue to participate in the Zoom meeting and a webinar, not just looking only to have the physical event. And finally, to all the panelists and speakers, thank you very much for your contribution and sharing today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you,
Thank you, everybody.
everyone.
Have a
Thank
good
you.
afternoon and a good weekend.
Stay
Enjoy the
safe.
rest of your weekend.
Stay safe.